Morning. Kevin here. It's been sort of unseasonably cool. It's middle June, and rainy days are always great days to sit on the porch, reflect, and I want to use this video as a sort of an introductory video to. I want to do a little series on gardening. Um, and by doing this, I'm not at all saying I'm the best gardener out there, um, but I do. It helps me in a lot of ways by sharing videos. It forces me to collect my thoughts a little bit more, organize them, and hope that somebody out there who maybe just getting into gardening or or is more experienced and struggling with some of the more complex issues that we can problem solve together. YouTube really has been, well, I should say, video sharing sites really have been extraordinarily helpful for me in my life. Um, I had a mower go smoking like crazy here just this week, and um, I looked on there, and the guy said there's three kinds of smoke, and I'd overfilled the oil, and so got back and running through the wealth of knowledge that's out there. Yet even with all that wealth of knowledge that's out there, there's still so many variations of what you're trying to do, and then variations within that. Like, I think we could probably spend 5 minutes mentioning all the, what I would say, like, top-notch agricultural folks in different areas to point people towards. Like if we were going to say um, uh, mulch systems, we'd say Paul Gauci with Back to Eden Gardening. If you're talking about larger scale animal agriculture, you might say Joel Salatin or Greg Judy. If you're talking about orchards in a natural context, Stephen Sobieski or something like that is Canadian. Michael Phillips. If you're talking about more a homesteading style, I just recently discovered they're the Daughertys, Beth and Sean Daugherty, something like that. The last name's difficult, but on and on we could go of all these amazing people that we want to point people towards, say they have the resources of what you're trying to do. But then the smaller folks like myself that are getting started out, saying here's some variations we've done with what they're doing and taking it in little different directions. Like my gardening was extensively Back to Eden style, or inspired by Paul Gauci's woodchip method. But so the other reason it's so critical for us to be learning from each other is that I heard someone say something along these lines. They said, with gardening, if you start, or any type of agriculture, you start when you're 20, you end when you're 70. That's only 50 years to do something, and it's 50 times to get this thing down. And like if you think about how many times you might dribble a basketball or ride a bike or paint a picture, I know we do that way more than 50 times. So you don't have many seasons to get this down and make this functional, make this meet your needs. And so that's why trial and error is amazing. I love the tool, but if we can somehow speed up this process of trial and error by using other people's experiences, that'll go a long ways. So I just want to share a few things that I'm pushing, that I'm sure other people have done this, but these are all topics that I feel like are maybe underrepresented on the videos, and obviously aren't done a lot. Now, I would say No-Till Growers, Jesse of No-Till Growers, he's doing some of the thing that I'm working with is just cover crops in the garden, and he's much further along than I am. So check out him if you're into cover crops. Let me say, I love wood chip gardening or any type of mulch gardening, no-till. But the longer you do it and the larger scale you do it, the more you become aware of some downsides. And I think the biggest downside with mulch, heavily mulch-based dead mulch, is you're required to take a lot of material from off-site and bring it to your site. So even if you're mowing a 5-acre grass on your property and condensing it down to 1 acre, that 5 acres is gradually getting weaker, less nutrients, and then your 1 acre is being enriched at the expense of the others. So that just doesn't feel quite right. I mean, obviously it might be a waste stream. It might be a lawn care company you're getting clippings from, and they're free and they're going to just dump that out anyhow, or and that, I have nothing against any of those things. I've done that quite plenty often, but I feel like there might be somewhat more efficient means than the dead mulch, as opposed to a living mulch, the cover crop. That said, cover crops are definitely proving to be more difficult to manage, maybe mentally, physically. I feel like it's been easier so far, but some setbacks as well. So we're going to talk about these in this video series, some of the things we've been trying. The other problem with mulch is there's an extreme amount of energy and time to move imports in. So I usually take 1 day a year to move in horse manure and put it on a pile, or a day and a half, and it's a big, tiring day of just, I don't have big equipment, so just forking this stuff off the truck and forking. Whereas if you get into more of these mulch living covers, you're a little bit of work along the way as opposed to big gluts of time. And then in the fall, I was getting into many evenings and several days of moving in. I was using mostly leaves, and it starts to become a lot of leaf moving. So trying to reduce the amount that I have to do that. I think there's a degree of that I'll be still doing. So again, check out my cover crop videos about perennial and annual cover crop. The other thing I'm getting into a little bit, and that's related to cover crop, is I feel like I've advanced in my gardening where I'm doing more, I'm going to call it mowing or scything the weeds as opposed to weeding the weeds. When you mow something down, you hand scythe it within a pathway or something like that, a cover crop, you're telling it, I want you to keep growing. You're going to keep producing more biomass and mulch. If I weed it out, it's dead, it's an empty spot. So I like it when I can go in and just hand scythe an area, because I feel like I'm enriching the soil and maintaining. Anyhow, the third thing I'm trying to get into a little bit more, or maybe it's the second, the mowing and weeds is just part of the extension of cover crop, but animals back into the garden system. We got ducks this year. We're running the ducks through the garden at the end of the season to eat the cover crops and clean up insects and to manure it down good. The strawberry's about ready to end. We're going to run them through the strawberry patch for a week or 2 or 3 and get them out of there. But when they start eating too many plants, I don't know if they really end up with the plants. But all of these things seem pretty exciting to me. We've had some good results. We've had some failures, but just wanted to share them and see if you have any inputs or ideas about plants that work great as cover crops. One other last thing, I think. I was saying that idea that you have 50 times to try out your garden season or your agricultural plan. At the beginning of each season, I kind of lay out what I think I've learned from last year, what I want to do this year to adjust it and make it better. And I think that planning at the beginning of the season is so important. Every season, just do something a little different to have the things that are tried and true, but also have the things that we want to try to push differently. So we're really making adjustments and gaining something. Like Gabe Brown, he said if he didn't have a couple failures this year, he's not trying enough new things. So, thank you.